All right. Well, we might as well get going. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We are, of course, going to talk about re-engaging your candidate database and how you can use tools like Jazz HR, as well as Candidate Hub to sort of unlock that gold that is built up in your database. So, um, just to introduce myself. My name is Brad DiPolo. I am CEO and founder of Candidate Hub. Candidate Hub was kind of brought to the world, I guess, during the pandemic when we had some time to talk to each other and pull our head above water. I talked to a lot of recruiters and just asked them what it was they were looking for. And overwhelmingly, a lot of people just said they were looking for a way to get candidates into their inbox every day. And so reflecting, I have a background in sales and marketing. I thought we do this for salespeople every day. We deliver sales leads to them every day. Why can't we do this for recruiters? So Candidate Hub sort of is taking some of that marketing automation and marketing technology and e-commerce type concepts and approaches and bringing it back into the recruitment space to help to nurture candidates and to deliver quality opportunity ready candidates into your inbox. So we call it sort of when opportunity meets readiness. I'd also like to take a moment to introduce my co-host for the day, Corey Long. Corey, if you would love to introduce yourself and a little bit about Jazz HR, that'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you, Brad. So, my name is Corey. I'm currently a product marketing manager here at Jazz HR. I'm really excited to talk about the synergies that exist between Jazz HR and Candidate Hub. I'm excited to bring my unique perspective on marketing, where I think there's a lot of overlap and a pretty strong relationship between how we approach re-engaging candidates in your existing candidate base, and then also showing how that is possible within Jazz HR. If none of you have heard of Jazz HR at this point, we are a purpose-built ATS that's focused on primarily serving small businesses. We pride ourselves really on the ease of use of the platform and helping our customers move away from some of the redundant manual tasks. And with that, I'm really excited to showcase this with Brad today.
Thanks, Corey. I'm a big fan of Jazz HR, so I'm happy to be talking about this. So, I thought we would dive in with a little bit on the value of recruitment marketing. If you're not familiar with recruitment marketing, and I'm not talking about just putting stuff on job boards. Recruitment marketing is really about communicating your employer brand, communicating your the insides of your organization, some of the operations, the good, the bad, the ugly sort of thing, to try to attract candidates to your brand. If you're doing effective recruitment marketing, oftentimes people will see that they're spending more quality money there and less money on job boards and things like that. So some current trends that we're seeing in recruitment marketing right now is a lot of actually e-commerce and consumer type marketing activities are starting to make their way in. So there is influencer marketing with products like Flockity, which uses influencers to get attention to your brand and bring people to your brand, to your career sites. Shorts is a big trend right now. So YouTube Shorts, Facebook Stories, Instagram Reels, TikTok, those types of short form video, people are really engaging with. And it's not necessarily about talking about your brand in a salesy way. It's more giving people a guided tour in behind the scenes of what's what's it like at your organization, some of the challenges that you're facing. And so that kind of brings in the challenge of candidate conversion. So when you're doing a good job in attracting a lot of attention to your brand and a lot of candidates to your brand, Appcast, I think, says that 92% of people that visit your career site end up leaving without converting. So one of the important things that we're going to talk about is how do you capture that information and how do you figure out sort of who's on your career site and when, and convert them from just an unknown IP address into an email. In recruitment, that email address is the currency. It's like giving your credit card at a cash register or in an online store. So, and then of course, it's important to keep that database up to date and make sure it's current, so that you're not constantly going out and trying to rebuy uh, data. Anything you want to add in there, Corey?
No, I think you covered it very well. I'm excited to talk about the sort of the cost implications of acquisition versus manning your own candidate database. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so that brings up a great point. So, my question is always, are you sitting on $1 million? So when you look at what your applicant tracking system, what your ATS data is worth, the cost of that data is figured out by, um, how much time are you spending doing your job descriptions, the fees that you're paying for agencies if you're using agencies, the job board fees, advertising costs, time spent sourcing candidates, which stats show that 78% of the time that it takes to fill a role is spent sourcing candidates. So we're spending, the old 80-20 rule, right? 80% of our effort to get 20% of our results. So we're spending 80% of our time just trying to find candidates. And over again, the number that I've seen of what it costs to get a name and an email address into your ATS is $20. And it doesn't sound like much. And it only cost me $20 to get that name. So if I have to buy it again, what's the big deal? But you do that over and over again, and you have 50,000 candidates sitting in your ATS. That's $1 million worth of data that is sitting there, that's going stale, and not being leveraged nearly enough.
Yeah,
Corey?
and yeah, no, that I think this is such an important slide, and I think one of the key points when we talk about again the relationship between Jazz HR and Candidate Hub is, you know, from my perspective, I think working in marketing and in the talent acquisition space is that in marketing, like retaining customers is and reconnecting with candidates who have previously engaged with us is not just about filling vacancies and making it transactional. It's really about building relationships and a community around all of these candidates that you may have already engaged with or may have already applied for roles. So when we think about Candidate Hub's robust engagement platform paired with Jazz HR's integration, I mean we can as Brad mentioned, we can really invigorate this gold mine of potential that resides within your ATS. And so I do want to quickly kind of reiterate the point about the cost and how the implications of the cost are very significant. And so once again, drawing this parallel from the marketing world, because that's kind of how we're thinking about approaching this, is that acquiring a new customer can be about 5 times more expensive than just retaining what existing leads, or in this case, the existing candidates that exist within your ATS. And again, as Brad mentioned, like attracting a new candidate is very costly and it can add up very quickly. So really what we're trying to illustrate here is that if you're not utilizing your current candidate database, you're overlooking great candidates that are already interested if you've already engaged with them before, and they may have already been a great fit for your business, but not the particular role that they had originally engaged with. And so really drawing attention to kind of the cost benefits along with these pre-vetted candidates that you can begin to engage almost immediately. So,
and it really comes down to a shift in mindset from looking at candidates as are they a fit for this job or not? And it's a yes, no, black and white situation to getting more into a mind frame of, can this person add value to our organization today? Can they solve a challenge for us today? If not, could they potentially solve a challenge for us in the future or add value for our organization in the future? And if not, then it's not data worth keeping. But if they could potentially solve a challenge in the future, then it's worth keeping that data, and it's worth nurturing those candidates, because it's going to cost you a lot less than trying to acquire that data again. So a good example would be, if you needed a licensed RN and you had somebody that was in your database that was 2 years away from being licensed, well, they can't step into the role today because they don't have that license. But in 2 years, they're going to have it, and in 2 years, they may be tired of their current position. So it's good to nurture them into that potential future role, um, because it's really like, I look at it as like building a championship sports team. So the dynasty in sports, whether no matter what sport you watch, there's really three ways to do it. One is free agency, where there's a superstar on the free agent market, and I can go out and try to get them to sign with my team, and that's going to cost me millions and millions of dollars. I think in the NHL free agency last year, $575 million was spent on day one. So that's it's the same as going to the job boards and spending money trying to attract the 5% of the market that everybody else is trying to attract. It's expensive, and it's very difficult and very competitive. So, you have to pay top dollar. You have to act very quickly, and otherwise, you lose that talent. The second way is through trades, right? I can trade for a talent on another team. So this is headhunting or whatnot. So I'm looking for somebody can come in and fill a role. I can that's going to cost me, again. It's going to cost me time. It's going to cost me money. In sports, it costs me uh, draft picks or future considerations or prospects or whatever. But the one that nobody really talks about is the draft, and um, how championship dynasties are built is with engaging sort of draft picks and nurturing that talent to come step into the big club down the road. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is how do you leverage that data, that gold mine of data, which is what I consider the draft. That's your draft talent. That's your farm team. That's your minor leagues. That's people that are not quite ready to step up into the big club, but you want to create an environment where they're just itching to get in. They're just itching to get the call up to come play with the big team. Corey,
Nice.
anything?
I couldn't have said that better myself. That was one of the best analogies that I've ever heard. So I think we're ready to keep moving. But that was great.
um, so one of the top ways that one of the first things we do when we're working with candidates or clients is segmenting their data. So um, the more you can segment your data, the more of uh, an in-depth persona you can create, and you can send um, better targeted, more personal communication. So we're talking about not just segmenting them based on the type of role they're interested in. Are they doctors, nurses? Are they engineers? Are they salespeople? Are they marketing people? But more segmenting them based on persona type. What types of things are they engaging with? Are they not quite ready yet? Are they not licensed? Are they, um, sort of, what are they interested in? What are they engaging with for content? So that allows you to really create very personalized journeys and real tailored experiences for those candidates. So one of the most important things that you can do is segmenting your or creating candidate personas, which Corey is really important in marketing as well, right?
Right. Yeah, I think the key word here I think is personalization. And so even if if you think about your experiences, even like purchasing something on Amazon or watching Netflix, like all of those experiences, consumers in general are expecting to have these one-to-one relationships with the brand that they're using. And it's the same thing, with the trajectory or the trend that we're seeing with candidates is that, the experiences that you create as a business are so critically important for not even just from a marketing sense customers, but from the candidate's perspective. If you can segment your candidates, Jazz HR gives the ability to create candidate categories, and so you can actually use your existing candidate database to pre-segment the candidates that you have within Jazz HR, which is going to be instrumental in how you leverage Candidate Hub to create those personalized candidate experiences. So really the goal is to make that specific candidate that is interested in your business, and then you're interested obviously in that candidate because you want to re-engage them. And so building that relationship with a one-to-one experience is so critical. And really the only way you can do that is by having a clear segmentation of your candidates, and whether that's a specific role, whether that's a location, skill set in relationship to the role. Those are all just critically important when you're thinking about leveraging your existing candidate database, and just now more than ever, especially with how competitive the job market is now. I mean, it's the ability to save time and zero in on the what you believe will be the perfect candidate for the role. I think speaks to what Brad was hitting on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the key features of Candidate Hub is our ability to track engagement. And so when we talk about engagement tracking, we're not just talking about the typical, open rates and click through rates and things that you see with social media and a lot of email marketing platforms. But we really want to know, what are candidates doing? Are they, what channels are they engaging with? What content are they clicking on our career site? Are they watching those YouTube videos that we've loaded up? Are they watching those shorts? What are they engaging with? And then the more we know about their behavior across our multiple channels, the more we can implement triggers based on those interactions. So, if they interact with a social post, or they, read a blog that we put out, or they watch a video on our career site, it might be a, a, a good time to reach out and have a conversation with them, or maybe we want to trigger an email to them to follow up so that we can convert them from somebody who's just browsing and trying to learn more about our business to a candidate who's applying for a job and open to having a conversation with us. And triggered emails have a 70% higher open rate than just cold, unsolicited emails, because they're already interested in your organization. They're engaging with you, and you're just responding. So by doing engagement tracking, it's almost like having somebody sitting there watching your your brand across multiple channels, going, okay, when a candidate does this, then I want to send them an email, or I want to send them a text, or if they don't open that email, I want to send them a text, or if did they go from the landing page that we directed them to? How many people are going from that to the career page? And what channels are converting best? So you get to see sort of all of the pieces in one great big picture to make much better decisions and to trigger communications along the way. Um, and it also gives you the ability to identify candidates who've become inactive or having engaged recently. There's going back to the agency world, by engaging candidates that haven't spoken to you in 6 months, and doing what we call a database reactivation campaign, you can often generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in placement fees, or you can fill roles that you've had sitting there because you're going back to candidates that may not have or may have forgotten about you, or whatnot, and you're re-engaging those candidates and getting them back into the funnel. So knowing that they've kind of gone cold is important, as well as what they're doing and whether they're engaging or not.
Yeah, no, and those are a lot of good points. And again, just providing some of the crossover that exists in how we work in marketing and how it relates to uh, getting servicing the right candidates is that, again, this idea of personalization, and then even what Candidate Hub is going to allow you to do, and based on how you've built the categories in Jazz HR, is that you can test different types of candidate journeys, and once you understand what works, you're going to be a lot more efficient. You're going to save a lot more time, and you're going to begin just seeing how quickly these candidates are then being quote unquote won back into your hiring pipeline. And that's something that is so critically important throughout this process, is making sure not only that you're just engaging them with random notes, but again, back to the idea of personalization, is that you're engaging them with purpose. And again, that's the one of the most important things when it comes to leveraging your existing database.
Yeah, I like that, engaging them with purpose.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And so when we talk about doing sort of a database reactivation campaign, and this is one of the first things that we often do with our clients when they first come on board, is how do we take a pool of candidates that we haven't heard from in a while, or if we don't know if they've been on our career site or whatnot, and reactivate that data. So it's a campaign that's designed to sort of bring those candidates back who've become inactive or disengaged, and it's something that you can do. You can have continuously running, so that if somebody hits a threshold of they haven't been active in so long, then they get thrown into a database reactivation campaign. Um, and it helps to maintain your talent pipeline. So it helps you to identify which candidate data is accurate, which has gone stale, and make sure that people are engaging. So, people change email addresses; they don't change phone numbers oftentimes. So, if you can't reach them by email anymore, maybe a text message, and then they go in and they update their contact information. So there's ways to get them to come back. And if you're engaging them with constant communication and the right communication at the right time, then you're going to reduce the likelihood of them ghosting you during the process, ghosting you at interviews, not showing up for the job on day one. Um, and they're more likely to refer others to your organization, even if they end up not getting an offer or they end up turning down your offer. Uh, it's the same as when you're buying a product. If you have a great experience with the restaurant, you're going to tell other people about how great the food was, and you really should go eat at this restaurant. It was amazing. Oh my God, the salad they had was fantastic, or the steak was unbelievable. But if you have a terrible experience, you're going to tell way more people to avoid that restaurant. So keeping them engaged throughout the process is critical in getting them to not only stay continuously engaged with you and potentially in further roles, but also them referring other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, Brad, I think the first point you made about, the, kind of having the candidates that are disengaged or maybe inactive, having them kind of rebooted into your pipeline, is that, I think the first thing that's important to understand is, why were they disengaged in the first place? Was it because they didn't get the initial role that they'd interviewed for, or was it something else? And I think when you dig into the reasoning there, um, and maybe it was because they didn't feel like they were maybe valued during that process, or it wasn't purposely, they weren't engaged with in a purposeful manner. Like Brad said, that's going to have a longer lasting effect than if they had a positive interaction with your business. And so, again, from the marketing perspective, we look at brand loyalty and how important that is. It's the same thing from a candidate's perspective. The way that they view your brand and the way that they've interacted with and engaged with your business in the past is going to determine whether or not this reactivation campaign is effective. And so just the importance of building purpose around the way that you interact with these disengaged candidates for whatever reason it is. If you can, like I said, re-engage them or reactivate them in your pipeline in a way that is personalized um, and allows them to engage with that one-to-one message with your business, it's going to have just tremendously long-lasting effects on the way that they perceive your business, and ultimately they're going to want to work there, which is critical.
Yeah, and re-engagement campaigns don't involve like reaching out all of a sudden with here are the opportunities we have. It might include a survey, provide some information, or inviting them to a webinar or something along that line. It's about giving to them, giving value, and not asking for something in return at this point. Um, and then so that leads us into sort of nurturing those candidates. So once we've gotten them engaged again, it's important to nurture those candidates. So if you think of the recruitment process, you've got candidates that come in, they go through the interview, they're hired. That's great, but those that aren't hired should go back through the cycle and coming into the funnel the next time you need them. Um, and so we talk often about turning yesterday's silver medalists into today's gold medalists. And that's done by nurturing. This is the draft that I talked about. This is the building up your farm team system. So um, it Candidate Hub really sort of, this is where we take over from Jazz HR. You've gone through the process and you've rejected a candidate for whatever reason, or they declined the offer or whatever it might be. Now we need to bring them back into our flow, and build out processes that allow us to continue to build relationships with those candidates over time. And so they almost go back to the start of the process, and the start of the process is really about, we have really four stages that we look at: awareness, consideration, interest, and action. And um, awareness, they're just maybe becoming aware that they're ready to look for something new. They're really early in the process. Think about when you're buying a car. You're looking at different models. Maybe it starts off because you have to take your car in for repairs all the time. You're getting tired of the big bills or whatever. So you start looking at new cars. I know for my wife and I, it's about a 2-year process. We don't just decide to walk in. We're not Mike Tyson. We don't walk in and buy a new car just because we're tired of driving a stick shift. So it's similar thing. You want to send them information and develop content that's going to drag them through the process and get them to learn more and more and more about you at each step. And you're learning more and more and more about them at each step. So oftentimes we'll build a process for a client that, um, instead of having a 20-minute application process for a job, we start off with a simple form of just with a landing page and a form, and they go in and they fill in their first name, last name, email address, and what type of role they might be interested in or location they're interested in or whatever. And then they get future communication. In that communication, we ask them, here, can you go update your profile? Now, can you load in your resume? And so you build a profile over time of these candidates, and you're not asking them to give up 20 or 25 minutes of their time to fill out a job application. It becomes really frictionless. Um, and so we share content that goes from all about them to eventually all about us, and what we can do for them, and what we need, and how that matches together. So there's kind of a systematic journey there, that by knowing what stage they're in and what they're interested in, and creating that personalized communication, we can really sort of hold their hand through that funnel and get them there much quicker.
Yeah, yeah, that and I think there's so many. I mean, it's almost like a process of how we went through each of these topics, like with candidate nurturing. And I think something that Brad, you had mentioned, you had kind of reiterated segmentation. And it's not just about finding the new candidates, but really, by having the ability to nurture those candidates, you're able to almost curate your talent network. And again, that's with Jazz HR's ability to group candidates and almost pre-segment them. So you're kind of in real time as you're interviewing candidates and as you're bringing them into Jazz HR. I mean, you're going to have the ability to as you're going through this process, segment them to then put them into certain categories. Like Brad, I think you had mentioned something about the silver medalist or a culture champion, people that really fit into these specific groups that are going to help your organization grow, or ultimately have them be like the best fit for that role. So I think, again, really critical that when you are able to curate this network of talent, and how far that goes, and being able to do that within Jazz HR is such an important asset. When those candidates do move over into Candidate Hub, it's going to be a lot purposeful for not just your organization but for the candidate themselves.
Yeah, it's really important in sort of guiding that journey. And so ultimately, it comes down to knowing where they are in the journey. And so one of the big things that we bring to the table as well is lead scoring. So we do this by assigning values to certain actions that candidates are taking. So if they're looking at a job on a job posting, obviously that's a high value action. That's a high intent. Opening an email is a little bit lower of an intent. So maybe we'll give a point for opening an email, but 5 points or 10 points for viewing the job posting on your careers page. Watching YouTube videos, those are good intent actions. So it's about figuring out sort of what the journey is, and what sort of activities are doing the best job at converting those candidates. And so if somebody reads this many emails and then clicks on this landing page and then watches this video, then that at that point we want to have a conversation with them. So we assign values accordingly. In what it allows us to do is then help you to identify in Jazz HR, for example, if you're posting a job and you have 200 applicants, out of those 200 applicants, which ones have engaged with you up to this point? Did they just hit quick apply? I go back to my car analogy, right? If I was selling a car today and I had time to make one more phone call, would I want to talk to somebody that's been on our website, has done a build in price, maybe follows us on social media, maybe has been into the dealership, done a test drive, gotten a price quote before, all of those actions, that's somebody that's probably more likely to be ready to buy than somebody who filled out a form 6 months ago and we haven't heard from since. So, up to today, we really didn't have that ability to understand that when we're looking at data in the applicant tracking system. So, out of those 200 applicants that have applied for a job, which one of them have done some homework on us and are engaged with us, and have invested some time into figuring out who we are and if they'd even be interested in working here. And if you start there, that helps you shortlist like 50% faster, because you're shortlisting and talking to candidates who are most likely ready for a conversation with you at this point.
Yeah, and that's a great point too. And I think when it comes to lead scoring is, I think the idea of when you start building these journeys, and I think there's definitely a lot of testing that needs, that I think is relevant too, and that you may not exactly know just starting out, like what is what is my candidate's journey, what is the candidate journey by role. And I think with the ability to lead score, you can understand, what are the most efficient, journeys that we want to take these candidates on. What type of content is working the best, and things like that. Once you continually fine tune it, you're going to get to a place where you understand, which journey is working the best. And really, it's just as simple as doing what is working. Just sort of like A/B testing and things that, again, in the marketing world are so critical to our success, that have you know carryover almost one to one with recruiting. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if I say my click through rate on LinkedIn is 5% of those candidates went on to engage with us, where 80% of the candidates that click through on Facebook engaged with us and went from the landing page to look at more content. Obviously, now that 3% click through rate doesn't matter as much as the 80% of people that engaged. So clearly, Facebook was the more effective channel in that situation than LinkedIn. So oftentimes we can get thrown off by data such as email open rates and click through rates because we think that it's providing the results that we want, but if people are clicking through to the landing page and bouncing as soon as they get there, that's no better really than them not clicking on it in the first place. So by scoring the activities that they're doing and capturing that data, we can really tell in real time what's working, what's not working. We can do A/B testing and all of that stuff that Corey just talked about. So I want to take a second, really, just to show you how easy it is to pass information from Candidate Hub to, or from Jazz HR to Candidate Hub and vice versa, and how we can quickly build campaigns and communications in Candidate Hub. So I'm just going to uh, share this screen with you. Um, so as you can see here, in candidate or in Jazz HR, we have this list of candidates that have applied for a job. And so now I can go in, I can look at this candidate and screen and do all of the things that I want to do within Jazz HR. But let's say I want to move this candidate to the next stage. It's going to ask me if I want to send information to Candidate Hub, and I can confirm the status stage. So now Jazz HR is communicating with Candidate Hub. So we know at each step of the process where these candidates are, and what stage they're in. So, this candidate's in the interview stage and whatnot. So the more we build these profiles on these candidates, the more we can communicate with them in a very personalized way, and send more than just the automated rejection email, or communicate with them if they've been sitting in that stage for a couple of weeks because we've been busy and we haven't had a chance to move them from the next stage. So maybe we want to send them an email saying we haven't forgotten about you. And the other thing is sort of building sort of those campaigns. So if we go in and we want to build a reactivation campaign, I just want to show you how easy it is to build it with Candidate Hub. So we can take a segment of candidates, and then we can just add activities. So we can, at each step of the process, we have what we call a decision, action, or a condition. So a decision is, did the candidate do this? An action is, we're going to do this. And condition obviously is, does this equal this? So are they in a specific city? Do they have a cell phone? Are they visiting from a smartphone, or are they visiting from a desktop? We can really kind of look at multiple criteria. So typically when we're doing a campaign, a reactivation campaign, we'll start off with sending them an email right away. So, we're going to send them this activation email. Obviously we would call it an activation email, but just for demo purposes. So we can actually call this step activation email 1. So that we can keep track of it later. Then we can, decide, did they open the email? If they did, then, maybe we want to assign them a point for doing that. So we're going to adjust their points. We're going to give them 1 point. And then after that, we want to know, so they opened the email, but did they visit our page? So maybe did they visit the landing page, or did they visit our career page, or whatever? And then if they did, then we can continue and give them points and continue to nurture them down that process. But let's say they don't open the email. So, okay, if they don't open the email, then maybe we want to send them another email in 2 days. So we're going to send the same email in 2 days. And then we can go back and do the same thing. We can build. Do they did they open the email? If they didn't open the email, so let's say we want to know if they opened it. And then if they did, then if they didn't, then maybe we're going to change channels and we're going to send them a text message instead. Um, so we're gonna send a text message. And so in doing this, we really can build very robust journeys in a very, very quick period of time, based on the actions that the candidates are doing. And it's not just looking at, did they open the email or did they click on the email? We want to know maybe if they replied to the email, did they watch a YouTube video? Did they do all kinds of different things? So it's very easy to build these campaigns. And then when we go back to our contacts, we can see exactly everything that they do and we can track everything that they've done and then share that information back with Jazz HR so that we have a really robust, clear picture of what's going on and how that candidate is interacting with our brands. Corey, anything you want to throw in there with that, or?
No, I think the biggest thing that I like, my biggest takeaway from building the candidate journey is just the importance of quality over quantity. So I think like it's easy to get trapped in, a high volume of actions being taken, but if they're not quality, I think then it's something that that's where you want to place your focus. And I think what Candidate Hub really helps you understand, by actually going in and seeing the metrics that exist for that specific candidate, is the overall quality. And I think that's going to be key. And really, like I said, back to just understanding what works, doing more of that, and then doing less of what's not working. Which really, I think it's as simple as framing it that way.
Yeah, so it really becomes about offering sort of personalized experiences for those candidates. So at this point, thank you for spending some time with us. Love to open the floor up for questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or put it in the chat, and Roxanne will help us out with it. And otherwise, if you would like to learn more information, you can uh, use the QR codes here to book a call with either one of us, and we'd be happy to walk you through more of this information. So even if you just have questions about how to build a campaign in your own technology, I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. So we'll open it up for a few minutes. Anybody have any questions? Corey, we must have done an amazing job.
That's what it looks like it. Oh,
Oh,
here's
looks
one.
like we have a question. Is there specific emails or content that you have seen work best when re-engaging with candidates? Yes, actually, there is. That's a great question. So, um, some of the best content that we've seen that works well with re-engaging with candidates is asking them for something, or giving them something. So, sending out a survey and asking them for their opinion, could even be, we're looking to improve our recruitment process. Could you please share your opinion on how your interview went with us last time you spoke to us? Or um, if you're in a technology space, for example, sharing information on the latest breakthrough in coding, or a specific language, that sort of thing. Or just reaching out and saying, um, we just wanted to reconnect and make sure that we haven't lost touch. can you please click here and update your profile if you're still interested in receiving future communication with us? So just a simple email giving them something and asking for their opinion. Um, People love to share their opinion. If you don't believe me, just go check out social media. People love to share their opinion. So surveys tend to work good, but just make it about them and not about you. So don't send out jobs or send out, employer branding content or anything like that. Make it about something that's going to educate or entertain them, or ask them for something of value that they would be happy to share. So, their opinion or something along that line. Those tend to be the three that give us the best initial results. Corey, any thoughts on that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think again, it just goes back to that, making it about that one-to-one relationship between your business and the candidate, offering them something. And then you can, Brad, I think as you mentioned earlier in the presentation is that, you can gradually, bring your business back into the picture and show how there's the connection between, that specific candidate and where the value is in your business. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, if there's no other questions, thank you again for your time. We will share a copy of this. Again, you can feel free to scan the QR code at any time, even if you're watching a replay of this, and book a call with us to ask specific questions if you want to dig into specific scenarios or ask for specific advice. Happy to do that. So thank you everybody for being here today, and we look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
It's good. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.